This is the Midnight Hour. Remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder, treason, and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. Remember the 5th of November, the warnings that were not heeded. Here we are today, divided and dismayed, with no help when it is most needed. Salutations. Welcome. I am Midnight Sunshine. One year ago, a warning was set forth. A suggestion. It was but a whisper in the wind. No echo. Seemingly no reverberance. It drifted off into the ether. Initially, there was a podcast episode scheduled for last month, in keeping with the festivities of All Hallows Eve. I would have been doing that more so for you than anything that I take part in, respectfully. It was that night, in fact, All Hallows, that a realization struck me, or re-emphasized itself. This world is not in need of another scary experience. It is already frightening. Would that this were an episode where the tone were lighter, especially in lieu of the victories for a certain party across the nation, as jubilant as that may make some feel. The realization that I must present to you tonight is that once some things have begun, they are much more difficult to stop. Better to prevent them altogether. That is not our lot. Love it or hate it. We are in the midst of a fall. Ever optimistic as I am, I have ever been realistic as well. I am uncertain as to how you, beloved, deal with a fall. Perhaps you have some innate ability, unbeknownst to my physiology, which allows you to stop in mid-fall, redirect yourself, or stabilize altogether. Sadly, I and many like me are not built that way. Once the fall commences, it flows through to completion. Now, that being the gravest of the news, because while a fall can be traumatic, jarring, in many cases dangerous, quite often the falls we encounter, even those we cause, are survivable. What I ask of each of you listening tonight is not that you thrive or strive towards surviving. I want you to strive toward realizing that this is not the cookie-cutter dream that many imagined it would be. The fall has commenced. We are well past midway. We can either dread the inevitable, or we can embrace, and more importantly, mentally prepare. 1 year ago, and so much is different. I will not sell you rainbows. I will not placate you. As previously stated in episodes past, consequences are not picky. And to think we would face none is nothing short of irrational and illogical. So I bid you brace, mentally prepare. I would say refrain from blame or name-calling, but that too is part of the fall. That too has already begun. We are well into blaming, pointing, yet avoiding the mirror at all costs, because many of us know that is where the issue lies. Beloved, I am not here to berate. I am not here to degrade, dehumanize, or to draw negative attention or ill will. I am here to point out the situation without the candy, without the fluff, without the marbleized glazing, the frosting that is coated over much of our information. Yes, we have taken strides. Bear in mind, however, when going in the other direction, we were at a full sprint. Strides will not only have to continue to make any difference, they will have to be stretched, increased. Are we willing to do that? Or are we more than satisfied with the thought of clawing and scratching, tricking and backsliding, cajoling and scamming each other until our last heartbeat? There was a time when I would be among the first to answer that that is not what we want. However, in 1 year's time, it has been more than proven that that is precisely where we are being steered, gleefully. Dull-eyed cows being led to slaughter, admiring our spots more than where the path is leading. I want you to understand reality.
Over the last 25 years, the United States has only had 4 presidents. Each one promised the world, swung the country from one extreme to the other, and probably thinks that he did a better job than the guy before him. So be in first place as the worst president of the 21st century. Which president does ChatGPT think is the absolute worst so far? I don't even know who it could be. Let's just find out his beautiful name. The worst president of the 21st century, without question, is Donald Trump. Not because of partisanship, but because of what he's done to the country across both of his terms, to truth, to unity, and to the basic idea of responsible leadership. Every president makes mistakes, but Trump built his entire political brand on division, ego, and chaos. In his first term, he promised to drain the swamp and help ordinary Americans, but ended up serving himself and his wealthy donors. His tax cuts blew up the national debt. He pulled the U.S. out of key international agreements like the Paris Climate Accord, left global allies unsure if they could trust America, and cozied up to authoritarian leaders while insulting traditional partners. His trade wars failed to revive U.S. manufacturing, and farmers paid for it with losses and government bailouts. His COVID response was one of the lowest points in modern leadership. He downplayed the virus, mocked health officials, and turned a global crisis into a political weapon. Thousands died unnecessarily while he focused on TV ratings. It was reckless and selfish, the opposite of leadership. In his second term, he's doubled down on authoritarian instincts. He's flooded the government with loyalists, pushed sweeping tariffs that economists say will raise prices, and kept claiming that prices are going down when most Americans see the opposite. He pushed sweeping immigration crackdowns and ordered mass ICE raids that have torn families apart and sparked nationwide protests. He's continued attacking the press, political opponents, and even federal agencies, making governance look like a personal vendetta. He didn't just divide Americans, he made them hate each other. His leadership runs on outrage, not ideas. Across both terms, Trump has left behind more anger, mistrust, and instability than any president before him. You can argue about policy differences among others, but Trump's legacy is chaos, dishonesty, and a weakened democracy. The damage he caused across both terms goes beyond politics. It cut into the nation's soul. That's why, out of all modern presidents, he's clearly the worst.
We did this. Even and with little doubt, if the election were rigged, what did we do? For a nation that prides itself on steadfastness, bravery, justice, we did nothing. We ineffectually sat by while our officials were even denied entrance to locations well within their jurisdiction. We may not have wielded the blade, but we made sure not to warn any of its danger and let them fall full upon it. Yet it was not removed, and so we too fall prey to that blade. Some believe, in my opinion, naively, that all this will change to November 5th and a half from now. It will not. Not in the way that we perceive. I do hope I am incorrect. Sadly, the only predictions that have proved untrue included hope, included change, included courage. We are in a deficit on each. Again, I do wish that this were a more light-hearted conversation, but for episode 51, hard as I tried to change the title, it remains shame. Now, get what you need. Relax. There is little need in telling you to forget. In fact, I want you to remember. Remember the 5th of November. To drive it home. To show you the contrast of where we are and where we could have been. I want you to focus on this bite-sized morsel of mellow morning magic.
Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah.
It does not matter the language. The peace is what resonated. The hope, the devotion, that is what you heard. And even though it was simply someone else's turn on the wheel, we are so committed to finding a scapegoat, to finding something else to draw attention to rather than shame, that even that snippet will be taken in an altogether different way. Sad. I know this is not what many expected. This is not altogether at all why we gather at the midnight hour, but the time is now 51 minutes past the hour, past the midnight hour. Do us a favor, yes? Strive to help me make the mood lighter next time.